Samgamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste and welcome everybody. I offer my pranams to Revered Swami Samajitananda Ji Maharaj, Satyalokanji Maharaj, my loving namaskars to Swami Balagopananda Ji, distinguished guests, devotees, friends. So welcome back again. Last week we had this subject, Tattvamasi, you are that. And this time it's about the light. It's the same subject. It's the same subject. All the Vedanta texts, Advaita Vedanta texts, Upanishads, Gita, Brahma Sutras, the commentaries by Shankaracharya, other independent texts like Vivek Chudamani and Vedanta Sara, Vedanta Paribhasha, even very simple and easy texts, Drigdrishya Vivek Atma Bodhana, or more difficult and dialectical works with a lot of logic and discussion between, Advaita Siddhi, Khandana Khandakhanti, and so many. All of them say the same thing. They're not talking about different things. And what is that they talk about? They talk about light. Not this light, not optics, not a branch of physics. We just chanted, lead us from darkness unto light. In the Upanishads, in Advaita Vedanta, light is often used as an analogy for the real nature of the self. It stands for, as an example of consciousness. It's a very powerful way of trying to understand consciousness. But it's not about material light, not this light or the light of the sun. But it's a good way of leading us to understand what consciousness is. So why is consciousness compared to light? Light reveals things. If all the lights in the room went off, we would all be in darkness. Things are there, but they are not revealed. You switch on a light, then everything is revealed to us. Exactly like that, consciousness reveals things to us. We have experience of life. Consciousness plus object is equal to experience. Chaitanya, consciousness, plus object, Vishaya, is Anubhava. Anubhava means experience. Just like light falling on this bottle of water gives us an experience of the bottle of water. I see this bottle is visible now. Similarly, consciousness, awareness, plus something, a sight, a smell, a taste, a touch, a thought, a memory, sense of existence, all of that becomes experienced when we are aware, when there is consciousness. Even our sense of self is because of consciousness. And Advaita Vedanta identifies consciousness, this light within us. Light within also is just a way of speaking. Advaita Vedanta wants to say that we are that light. Not that there's a light, we are something, and inside there's some kind of a little light flickering inside us. Not like that. We are that light. And in Advaita Vedanta, the self is identified with that light. And so we have many references to this, like using light as a drishtanta, light as an example, light as a pointer, a way of understanding. Jyotisham apitat jyoti, tamasah paramuchyate. This is the light of light. What's the ultimate reality? Brahman, God, our real nature, self. It's a light of light. Jyotisham apitat jyoti. Tamasah paramuchyate. Beyond darkness, beyond limitation is this light. Where do you find it? In that same verse, it's the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Jnanam geyam jnanagamyam hridhi sarvasya vishtitam. You find it within in your heart. Heart, so right now you're talking about light and optics, have you shifted to cardiology now? Not in that sense. Heart here means our mind, intellect, our sense of understanding. Buddhi guha, the cave of the intellect. So, where do you find consciousness? It's not to make it too esoteric. It's quite straightforward. If you turn into our own experience, we see consciousness is always within. In our own minds, in our own experience, we find that we are conscious. And we are conscious of something. The Upanishad uses the light analogy so powerfully, so many times. Tameva bhantam arubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvavidam vibhati. That shining, everything else shines. By its light, everything here is lit up. Consciousness shining, everything else shines. By the light of consciousness or by consciousness, everything here is revealed or experienced. What do you mean consciousness shining? Awareness is there. And then we become aware of thoughts, memories, sensations, a sense of ego, a sense of personality. Then we become aware of a physical body placed in physical space. Like when we wake up, this is what we become aware. Suddenly a burst of sensations. But those sensations are appearing to whom? That to which these sensations are appearing. They're not appearing by themselves. They are appearing to something which is illumining them. So that is light. You know, at this point I'll mention something which is useful for us. The great philosopher David Hume, he says, I look within and I find nothing corresponding to this idea of the self. I find perceptions, I find sensations, I find ideas, a stream of perceptions, sensations, ideas. Where is this thing called the self? Now, if David Hume were to inquire a little further, ideas, perceptions, sensations, appearing to whom or to what? The reason, so if it's so obvious, why didn't someone as sharp and incisive as David Hume, why didn't he catch it? Why is it difficult? The reason is, it is not like ideas, sensations, perceptions. The consciousness, this awareness, this light, the problem, if I may say so, the uniqueness, if I may say so, it's different from everything else because everything else is an object to it. So, sight, smells, taste, touch, you can always say, this thing I'm seeing, this sound that I'm hearing, this smell that I smell, this taste, or this thought, this emotion, everything, this means object, something that is immediately experienced. But by what? That which is illumining these objects is not an object itself. And therefore, if you look for it as an object, you're never going to find it. See, there are two things which we cannot find. One is something that does not exist. If I look for an elephant in the room, I can't find it. Why not? Not because it is the Atman, Brahman, pure consciousness. No. You say you can't find an elephant in this room because it doesn't exist. That's why you can't find it. Even if you look for it, you can't find it. This is the other kind which you're looking for, but you don't find because you are looking in the wrong way or you have a wrong idea of it. So if there is, say, a beautiful lecture on Vedanta being given, and somebody who doesn't hear, blocks the ears, and looks around in the eyes, where is the lecture? I see people, but where is the lecture? Lecture is not something you can see, it's something that has to be heard. It's an example. Similarly, this light we are talking about, the self we are talking about, it's not an object among other objects. It's not something to be seen, heard, smelled, tasted, not something to be grasped physically. It's not even something to be thought about. It's not something to be spoken about also. Even language cannot designate it. There's a huge amount of discussion about it. But it's not that it does not exist. It exists. It's just that it's not an object. When you enumerate all objects, it will not be in that list of objects. But it is that to which all these objects appear. It is that by which all these objects are experienced or can be experienced. The light of lights. That shining, everything else shines. By its light, everything here is lit up. A little later we will have Sandhya Arati, the Arati of Sri Ramakrishna, evening Arati. And there will be a line there when we sing the song which was composed by Swami Vivekananda. Jyoti Ujjala Ridikanda, the light of lights shining in our hearts. What is this light of lights? So it's not that you are suddenly like radioactive start glowing in the dark. No, it is a light which is always present. And that is shining in our hearts. And interestingly, if we are singing to God, an arati is being performed to God in some form, and we are saying light of lights shining in our heart, it's pointing back at ourselves. It's not something out there. We're pointing to something ourselves, within ourselves, or what we truly are. I haven't started yet. This is just the intro. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about something extraordinarily subtle. Extraordinarily subtle because, not because it's a very fine thing or because it's a very abstract concept. It is neither a fine thing nor an abstract concept. It's just because it's not an object. That's why it's subtle. That's all. I don't even want to make it abstract. It's not at all abstract. Anything that is most concrete, this one, this body, most concrete, most visible, experienceable to us. And subtle things like thoughts and feelings. And even more subtle things like abstract mathematical concepts. All of these, from the most physical, from the most gross physical to subtle abstract, all are illumined by that one light. It's also nothing very strange, very esoteric, only a few yogis in caves can see it. No. It's the most common of all things. It's not knowable as an object, but Swami Vivekananda, when he was giving the Jnana Yoga talks in London, he said, it's not knowable, but you must not go away with the idea that it is unknown. It is more than known. That is first, it is known first, known within quotes, and then everything else is known. That's it. Always what is Vedanta, what it calls Swayam Prakasha. Self-luminous. Bit like, again, you see where the light example is interesting. All these things we cannot see without the help of a light. Switch on a light, you can see all these things. But the light itself doesn't require you to switch on another light. As far as material light goes, material light is self-luminous at its own level. It reveals other things and it shines. It does not require one more light to reveal it. Similarly, our real nature, this light we are going to talk about, reveals everything. What does it reveal? Everything. Our life itself. Christoph Koch, who is a leading neuroscientist, he has written, his latest book is The Feeling of Life Itself. What's he talking about? Consciousness. The feeling of life itself is made possible by consciousness or awareness. Without consciousness, without awareness, no life, no existence for ourselves. So to talk about it today, I am going to pick a text written about 600, 700 years ago, very well-known Advaitic text. It's called Panchadashi. Panchadashi, 15 chapters on Vedanta. Each of those chapters, by itself, is a sufficient introduction to Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, each of them. It's a masterpiece written by a great post-Shankara Advaita master called Vidyaranya Swami, who lived about 600-700 years ago in the south of India, where Bangalore is a little further away from that area. So he had a number of books, but this is the one he is known by, most famously known by. And in the very beginning of that book, just right at the beginning, after salutations to God and Guru and all that, in the third verse itself, he introduces us directly. He takes us to the heart of the subject. Now, when I'm going to talk about it, it's not just information. If one can take it as information, but what Vidyaranya Swami intends it to be is a pointing out. It's something that's always available to us, and it's available to us right now. So if we attend to that instruction, what Vidyaranya Swami is saying to us, this pointing out which is coming to us 7 centuries, 700 years ago, it's floating down to us through the centuries. If we listen to it carefully and try to note it in our own experience, then we will benefit, maximum benefit. Even if you don't do that, if you just take it as information, just as a teaching, that's good enough. But really, if we just try to see what is he talking about, because what he is talking about in this verse which I'm going to introduce now, you can see it in your own experience. You can note it in your own experience. And then Vidyananda Swami develops that theme in about 7 or 8 verses, continuously sticking to experience. First chapter, verses 3 to 9, 3 to 10. First chapter of the 15 chapters. And continuously sticking to experience. And then he says, see, in our own experience, you see yourself as pure being, pure awareness, pure bliss. And now open your Vedanta text for the first time. This Sat Chit Ananda is what is called Brahman. So I think that's a masterly way of teaching. First talking to us, showing us in our own experience without reference to Upanishad, to Gita or anything like that. So now open the textbook and see what they're saying is what you are experiencing right now, all the time. What does he say? What is this remarkable verse? I've done enough advertising. But advertising is good. It draws attention. So people attend to it. Sri Krishna does that almost at the beginning of every chapter. Now I will tell you the royal secret. I will tell you the royal knowledge. The royal secret, royal knowledge, they are already right. Who doesn't want the royal secret and royal knowledge? Same old thing, you are Brahman, he will tell you that only. But in a new way. Shabda sparshadayo vedya vaichitra jagare prithak tato vibhakta tat samvid aikyarupyatma vidyate. Opening teaching by Vidyananda Swami. He says, sounds, touch, all of these, they are all different. The objects are all different from each other, which we experience in our waking life. But different from that, separate from that, is the consciousness to which all these are revealed. That is one and the same. Now let's look at it carefully. Look at it with this example. There's light shining. The same light is shining down here. And it reveals to me, what do we see? When you're looking at this, you see a bottle of water. You see the microphone. You see this piece of cloth, this Gera cloth. You see the Swami sitting here talking to you. So multiple things. Bottle of water, microphone, cloth, Swami. These are all different. Bottle of water is not the microphone. Microphone is not the cloth. Cloth is not the Swami. They're all different from each other. But the light which illumines all of them is one and the same. And the light is different from them. This one doesn't have a light of its own. It's not luminous. This microphone doesn't have a light of its own. Nor does this cloth have a light of its own. And Swami, you're shining. Yes, but I don't have a light of my own. I'm not radioactive. It's just the light which is reflecting off me. So these objects don't carry a light of their own. The light which is illuminating and revealing these objects, it is different from these objects. It exists with these objects and without these objects also. To illustrate further, in Haridwar, sometime before I went there, but sometime before I went there, there is always these Vedanta talks. So from morning till evening, till afternoon, it goes on. One after another, Swamis and Pandits will come and give talks. People come and sit and listen. And the audiences there are not as disciplined as this. You can come and sit and listen. You can get up and go away. It is all up to you. Nobody bothers. The speaker is not bothered. The people in the audience are not bothered. You come and go as you please. And there, classes on Vedanta go on. Somebody can come and sit on the floor till you get your own mat and sit there. Suddenly one day he's not seen, the Swami who is learning some Vedantic text, and somebody will ask, oh Mahatma ka kya hua? What happened to that Swami? Oh, wo asan utha liya. Literally it means he has picked up his asana, that he's gone. He may come back 5 years, 10 years, 20 years later, or he may not, who knows. So like that. There are a lot of people sitting and listening. From the morning Vedanta talks are going on. After some time it gets a little boring. 1 hour it's alright. 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. So people are beginning to get up and go. The presidential address was supposed to be given by senior Swami there. Now that's a difficult task because everybody is already bored. And then now they're ready to go home. People are beginning to get a presidential address. So the Swami got up and he said that, I will not give you a lecture about Brahman. Hum aapko Brahman dikha denge. I will show you Brahman. The people are getting up quickly, but came back and said, they said, up, now, come, at last. What he said was, he did exactly this. He wrote this cloth like this, he took up this cloth. What do you see here? And they said, Kapra dikhta hai, your cloth, Gerua, this is your ochre robe. But there is one more thing which you are not seeing. What is that? It is the light which is reflected from this. Actually, all that comes to our eyes is light itself. Our eyes are meant for receiving light. The bottle of water, the microphone, the cloth, none of them will luckily enter our eyes. Otherwise, hospital immediately. Only light enters our eyes. And the moment it enters our eye, it is not light anymore. It becomes an image in the lens, and then instantly the image is no longer there. It becomes a burst of electricity racing along our nerves to the some optical nerves to the relevant brain centers, and there somehow by some miracle, nobody knows how, it gets converted into this experience of seeing. Now he says, just like this light is there everywhere, whatever you are seeing, basically it is light reflected of that which is coming to your eyes. In every experience, there is one light, which is not this material light, which is you yourself. So, this is what he was trying to say. Here, Vidyaranya Swami is telling us the same thing. It is like the same light, but the difference is, it's not just physical light. As we see things, there is this light of consciousness, which is illumining all our experiences. So, this bottle doesn't come into my eyes. The light reflected from the bottle comes into the eyes. Then an image is formed. Then it goes into the brain, and from there somehow a replica of this image in the form of what is called chitta vritti. Like a wave in the lake of the mind. It arises. What is it about? It's a sensation. It's a perception about bottle. So I see the bottle. And this I see the bottle, this is because that vritti, that, if to put it in Sanskrit, bottle akara vritti. Vritti in the form of bottle is illumined by consciousness. Then only the experience comes, I see the bottle. I see the bottle. Exactly like that, I see the microphone. I see the cloth. But not just I see the bottle, microphone, cloth. If I attend to what I'm hearing, sounds are very different from sight. Mechanism is entirely different. Sound waves are coming, these waves are coming in the air, go through my ear, and then set up certain resonances there, vibrations, and then again it will go to the auditory centers in the brain, and I get the experience. I hear sound, voice, music, and smell, and taste, and touch. All the multiple inputs from the five senses in the world, from the world are coming through the five senses into the mind, and there, illumined by the same consciousness, just like the same light is illumining this, and this. It is the same awareness which illumines all these perceptions. The objects are different, sight is different from sound is different from taste is different from smell is different from touch. But the consciousness experiencing all of them is one and the same. Ekaruppya na bhidyate. Consciousness is one and the same. And just like the light is not the bottle, it's separate from the bottle. Bottle doesn't come with its own light. It's separate from the bottle. Similarly, consciousness is separate from the experiences which it experiences, which it illumines. And it is one and continuous. Not only that, there's another interesting side to it. Consciousness is constant. It doesn't come and go. It does not depend on the object of experience. What do I mean by that? Look, you are seeing this bottle in my hand. You will say, yes, I'm seeing. Now, do you exist? You say, yes, I exist. And now when I close my eyes, if you close your eyes, Are you still seeing the bottle in my hands? We will say, no, we are not seeing the bottle. But do you exist? We'll have to say, yes, I exist. That means my existence does not depend on seeing this bottle. If I see this bottle, that awareness is still there. Because of that awareness, this bottle is seen. And that microphone is seen. And this cloth is seen. If I close my eyes, none of them will be seen. But the awareness continues. And the awareness will tell me in my mind, a thought will arise, I can't see anything. Similarly, if I plug my ears and I don't hear anything, I don't see anything, I don't hear anything, the awareness, do I still continue to exist? Yes. Go further. If all the five senses are shut down, I don't see anything, hear anything, smell anything, taste, touch, the five senses, none of them are operating. The five inputs, sensations are not there. Do I still continue to exist? Am I there? Yes. And go further. If I stop thinking, if I stop remembering, suppose now at this moment I can't remember anything. Who am I? My memory, my name I don't remember, where I come from, what is this place? I don't remember anything. But do I exist as awareness? Yes. If all sensations are shut down, if all thoughts and memories are shut down, perceptions are shut down, sense of ego, suppose I remove the feeling of I. If I don't think that I exist, if I don't think that I exist, the thought, I am, if I don't think that, do I still exist or not? I do. It is just that the awareness, this light, is illumining a blank. Nothing else is there. But it's still there. It's worth thinking about. One step further. This awareness, just conceive of it if you can, which is without seeing anything, without hearing, smelling, tasting, touching anything, without thinking about anything, without remembering anything at all. No past, present, without conceiving of anything. There's nothing after this. There's nothing before this. Just the now, this awareness. No world, no body, no sensations, no memories, just this awareness. What does this awareness want? Say nothing. Doesn't want anything. To want you to think, you have to feel something. Awareness by itself doesn't want anything. What does this awareness fear? Nothing, nothing. Are you with me? Are you following what I'm saying? Yes. This awareness, which you are now, I'm talking about you, I'm talking about us, our experience, most crucial thing. What does it want? Nothing. What does it fear? Nothing. What is it waiting for? Nothing. It's the mind which waits for something. Now lecture will start. Now I will get enlightenment. Oh, I did not get enlightenment. When will it end? When will the lecture? Who is saying this? Mind. Awareness is not waiting for anything else. What does this awareness miss? What upsets this awareness? Nothing. Notice, all our emotional problems will come when we get a layer of the mind and a sensation of this awareness identified with an individual self. Then an entire set of problems will come. But before that, alright, crucial question. So we saw, if I see something, I am there and I'm seeing. If I don't see anything, close my eyes, I'm still there. If I stop thinking, I'm still there. That I, this awareness. Now the crucial question is, supposing this awareness is not there, not that it can ever happen, but supposing this awareness is not there, what else will remain in your life? Let me repeat the question. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting is not there. I still exist. I can't see or hear, but I exist. Thinking is not there. I can't see or hear, like I don't even think, I'm quiet. I still exist. But that I, that awareness, if that is taken out of the equation, Will there be seeing? No. Will there be hearing? No. Will there be enjoying? Suffering? No. This is an incredible thing. That light which we are makes it possible, as Christoph Koch says, the feeling of life itself. It does not depend on anything else. Everything depends on it. It's shining, everything else shines. Including pain and pleasure, good and bad. By its light, everything is revealed. You shining, everything else in your life shines. By your light means you the light, everything is revealed. Let us go further. Vidyaranya Swami says, Jagare. So this is the story of our waking experience. Right now we are awake, hopefully. So this is the story of our waking experience. Then we fall asleep. And the entire world, what I was just describing, you don't see, smell, taste, touch, anything, disappears. It's not that you stop thinking, you go on thinking, but a dream world comes up, virtual reality. Nowadays we can understand it very, very well. Virtual reality, that some glasses are available now. And virtual reality movie has been made, Matrix movie. David Chalmers has written an entire book about it called Reality Plus. Reality Plus. Now virtual reality, like a dream world comes up. Vidyaranya Swami, he says, Tathatra swapne swapne vedyam tu nastiram jagare stiram tadbheda tastayo samvid tadbhedo tastayo samvid ekarupana bhidyate. So in dreams what happens? Oh, so many things happen in dreams. So many experiences. We see many things, we smell, taste, touch, everything, and then we are also there. Now there's a new term for it, avatar. So wait a minute, isn't that our term? Yes, it's our term, it's taken from there. It's called a virtual presence. In a virtual reality, you can experience it, but you also have to be there. This also shows us, just by itself consciousness is not enough. You can generate a virtual reality and you can look at it as a consciousness, but no. What do we do in a virtual reality? We introduce ourselves as a virtual body. How interesting. Now we can understand why the earliest virtual reality programmer, Brahman, generated a virtual reality, the world, and introduced himself, itself, herself as a virtual body. Which virtual body is Brahman? You, look at yourself. It's a very interesting thing. There is a Kashmiri Shaiva teacher who put it very beautifully. There was one man who was a devotee of Shiva, and after a lot of meditation and prayer, in his dreams, Shiva came to him. What do you want? And that man said, I just want to see you, my Lord. I have been worshipping you, chanting Om Namah Shivaya all my life. I just want to see you once. Then Shiva said, then look for me tomorrow. What will I look for? Look for the headless man. So the man looked and looked, and suddenly realized all have heads except no head. Who is the headless one? Headless one. You, take a look. Everybody else here has heads. You don't. Up to here, and what is here? Just awareness, light. Up to here you can see the body. So that's the headless way they say. Yes. So we introduce ourselves into this dream world with a body, with a virtual body. In this dream world also we have a body, and we experience. And yes, you can say the dream and waking are not the same. So big discussion is there. So in one approach in Advaita Vedanta, we say waking is one kind of experience, one level of reality. Dreams is another level of reality. Those who know the technical words, the waking world is called Vyavaharika, transactional, empirical reality. And the dream world is called Pratibhasika, illusory, appearance, fiction.
And Vidyananda Swami says, that's alright. My point is not there. And he agrees with if you say that dreams and waking, don't confuse them. Dreams are not like waking, they are unreal, unimportant. Waking is important. Vidyananda agrees with us entirely. He says, the things in the dream world, nasthiram. So one of the important differences between the dream and the waking, which we immediately notice, is that the things and people and objects in the dream world, they disappear constantly. Next time you go to your dream, if you in your dreams you ordered pizza, and it's time to wake up, you put it in the fridge. Tomorrow when I dream I will eat it. But next week you'll never come back to it. So it's gone. The moment you wake up, fridge and pizza are all gone. So, nastiram, Vidyananda Swami says, I agree. The objects in the dream, the events in the dream, none of them are steady. None of them continue, like the waking objects. Because you go to sleep, same bed, wake up, same bed. Go to sleep, thank God, all the problems are gone. Not gone. When you wake up, same problem standing before you. So, they're stiram, stable. In waking world, objects are stable, dream world, unstable, dynamic. But, he says, my point doesn't lie there. My point is that the light by which you experience the waking world continues in the dream world. Entire waking world disappears. And what you experience, the objective experience now becomes a subtle world of your dreams, of images, words, various kinds of things you see in the dream. They seem to be like a waking world, but when we wake up, we realize it's not real. It was just a dream. We say, oh, I was dreaming, thank God. Or depending on what I saw in the dream. If I won $1 million in the dream, in a lottery, I wake up and then say, oh no, it was just a dream. If there's something disastrous happening in the dream, I wake up, thank God, it was just a dream. So, but the light by which we experience the waking world is the same light by which we experience the phantasms of the dream world. That light continues. Ekarupa nabhityate. He uses the word samvit. Pure consciousness, one more name for that, Chaitanya, Chit, Bodha, samvit. The same samvit, same light continues in the dream world and illumines all the objects of the dream world. And then what happens? Even the dream world disappears. What comes in its place? Nothing. Blank. Just nothing. Deep sleep ensues. So we neither experience an external world, nor do we experience a virtual reality generated by the mind. All of it shuts down. The movie is shut down. The lights in the hall are also shut down. Everything is dark. What about then? I remember talking about this to somebody several years ago. And it was a young kid, and he said that, Swami, but when we fall asleep, deep sleep, this thesis breaks down. I know what you're trying to say, that consciousness continues in waking, dreaming, deep sleep, it never comes and goes, but it breaks down. In deep sleep, there's no consciousness. What does Vidyananda Swami say? He has anticipated this question 700 years ago, and he says, Supto thitasya saushupta tamo bodho bhavet smritihi sacha vabuddha vishaya avabuddham tattadātamaha. When we wake up from deep sleep, we have this, we reflect back upon what happened just now. I remember vaguely there were some dreams, and there was some time without dreams. What was there? I cannot say. Just blank. Just an absence of all kinds of experience. Just nothing. And we say it was deeply restful, it was peaceful. And in every culture, every part of the world, there is language, there are phrases to describe deep sleep. I slept like a log. In English, I slept like a log. I didn't know anything. Bengalis, they are, in Bengal it's very hot and humid, a lot like Singapore. So the Bengalis have a phrase, "Ghumiye kada," slept like mud. It's like mud. If you sleep hot and humid, suppose no fan, no air conditioner, then what will happen when you get up? All sweaty. So you feel like mud. So I slept like mud. That means every culture in the world has some expression for deep sleep, quite apart from dreams. Every culture recognizes dreams, and every culture recognizes deep sleep and some dreamless sleep. What is dreamless sleep? Is it an absence? Is that light switched off? Or is there no object for that light to illumine? According to Advaita Vedanta, dreamless sleep is not an absence of experience, it's an experience of absence. Suppose light is coming and it's illumining all these objects. Suppose I remove all these objects, what will we say? Objects are not there, light is still there. Now will you be able to experience that light? No. What will happen is, like in deep space, when we look up at the night sky, sunlight is streaming through the sky, streaming through space, but it looks black. So no, there is no sunlight there. There is, the moment a comet goes through, the tail of the comet blazes forth in a glorious display. Where is the light coming from? Is the comet saying, now we are doing a flyby of Earth, let's give the Earthlings a light show, switch on the light of the comet? No. There is light streaming through the darkness of space. When the comet sails through that, the tail of the comet, all the debris behind the comet reflects that light, and suddenly we have a glorious display. I remember to explain this once in a talk on Vedanta. There was a seminar, and there was this PowerPoint projector. And people were giving PowerPoints and giving their papers. It was talking about light without any object cannot be experienced. Suddenly it struck me that projector, beam of light is there, strong beam of light. And so a strong beam of light is going like this. I said, it looks like there is no light here. The moment I thrust my hand into that beam of light, see, it glows in light. Suddenly, there is nothing here. Suddenly it glows, my hand glows. If I take the hand away, there seems to be nothing here. But there is light. Similarly, consciousness, awareness, the light that we are, is there in deep sleep. But there is no object for it to illumine. Remember, what is experience? Consciousness plus object. So, what happens in deep sleep? All the objects, sort of the language of the Upanishads, become congealed into one, as if all distinctions are lost. Tamo bodha, Vidyanya Swami says, that blankness itself is the object. That undifferentiated mass of nothingness itself is the object. Why should we call it an object? What a strange object. But you experienced it. That is a kind of experience. Deep sleep is also a kind of experience. Why? Because otherwise you would not be able to recall it. Vidyanya Swami uses one of the arguments to show that deep sleep is also a kind of experience. He says, when we wake up, it's a kind of memory, smriti. And any kind of memory requires you to have experienced something before that memory. A memory is formed only when you have experienced something, then a memory is formed, you recall it. A normal memory would be, I saw Singapore, I saw the bay, or something like that. Here, you will not have a memory of the form, I saw deep sleep. If you saw deep sleep, then you are not in deep sleep. You're pretending to be asleep. Parents sometimes, little kids, naughty, when they become more active at sleep time. So when you try to make them sleep, they become more active. And parents will check, mother will check. If the good boy is sleeping, his left foot will move. Left foot moves a little then. Not sleeping. Not sleeping. Just shut his eyes and waiting for mom to go away. So deep sleep is not that kind of memory. That there will be no memory of the kind, I was in deep sleep. But it's still a form of memory. What is the memory? The blankness itself. The congealed mass of things which were experienced in waking and dreaming, that is indistinguishable blank mass. Now there was one Swami, a very nice example of these three states, waking, dreaming, deep sleep, I just read today in the morning. There was one Swami, Ram long ago. So he went to the United States to teach Vedanta 10 years after Swami Vivekananda. He lived even less than Swami Vivekananda. Vivekananda passed away at the age of 39, Ram lived to only 33. And he was this brilliant scholar of mathematics in Lahore. There's a story about him which I was just relating to Maharaj today at lunchtime, to show how brilliant he was. Day and night he was immersed in mathematics. And then final university exam came. So they had in a British period, choice, long paper, 13 questions, choose any 9 you can attempt and answer those 9. He answered all 13 and he wrote to the examiner, you choose any 9 of my answers and evaluate. And he was evaluated, he was by far the topper, and he was immediately offered at that age, very young age, a lecturership in mathematics at the university. He taught for a few days. He heard that Swami Vivekananda was coming. There's a story that how he met Swami Vivekananda at the railway station, and Swami Vivekananda gave him his watch. Anyway, so years later he went to the United States, taught Vedanta. One beautiful example which I've never read till today about waking, dreaming, deep sleep. See, because this Swami used to wander in the Himalayas. So he gives an example of glaciers and Ganga and Gangotri and all that. So he says, imagine the glacier at the beginning of the mighty river, a mass of ice. Now not so much anymore. Unfortunately, glaciers are shrinking all over the world. But imagine, a mass of ice, no movement, just a glowing mass of ice, and the sun is shining on it. That's like deep sleep. Nothing is happening. It's full of light, reflecting on that mass of indistinguishable mass. The object becomes an indistinguishable mass. And then after some time the sun shines upon it, it begins to melt, and a torrent of water is formed, which races through the Himalayas as one narrow stream, the Bhagirathi. It's narrow and fast. At that time you can't do anything with it. You cannot transact with it. It just is flowing, beginning to flow. And that is equal to the dream state. It's not vyavaharika, not usable. And as it comes down to the plains, the same thing becomes vast and broad. And agriculture, everything can go on. An entire civilization is built upon it. On presence of that river, the Ganga. So I like this example. You see, the same sun is shining on the glacier, the fast flowing torrent coming down the Himalayan side, and the vast meandering spread of the river through the plains of India. Same sun is shining. So he says, exactly like that, we have waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. It is the same mass, the object, Vishaya, blank. You, the sun, continue to shine upon it. You are the light. At one time, it's as if melts into dreams, fantasies. And at another time, it again broadens out full faculties, and you experience a physical world. Same sun continues to shine upon all three: waking, dreaming, deep sleep. And then Vidyaranya Swami says, this is the story of one of our days. One day. Then what happens next day? Tadvad dinantare. Exactly same story next day. And the day after that, exactly same story the day after that. And day after day, month after month, year after year, even the centuries roll past. This is one, what about the body? It will die. Another body will come, no fear. Krishna says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu, dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Death is certain of those who are born. But those who die, birth is also certain until one becomes liberated. So there's a beautiful, sublime verse, one of my favorite verses in the Panchadashi, which goes like this. Vidyaranya Swami sums it up. Masabdha yuga kalpeshu gatagamyeshu nekadha nodeti nastametyeka samvit esha swayam prabha. Beautiful, sublime verse. It says, months roll by. You, the light, you keep shining. Years of your life roll by. Body ages and life goes by. Decades pass by. And then entire ages and eons of the yuga, kalpa, they roll by. Universes are born and exist and disappear. You keep on shining. This is the sun of this light, samvit. Naudeti nastameti. It neither rises nor sets. You are the ever shining light, the sun, ever shining sun, which continuously illumines everything. At this point you say, just a minute, sorry to, Americans say, rain on your parade. Sorry to break up your poetry, but when the body dies, won't that light, your nice fancy light, be switched off? But then you are assuming something. You are assuming that the body is producing that light. Prove it. This is the so-called hard problem of consciousness. One Buddhist Lama put it nicely. To say that the brain is producing consciousness, consciousness is a physical basis, you have to overcome two big philosophical hurdles. Two big philosophical hurdles. First of all, does an external world exist outside consciousness? In philosophy, this is the problem of subjective idealism. You have to prove that an external world exists beyond consciousness. And once you have proven that an external world exists beyond consciousness, if you can do that, still has not been done. I think Kant called it the standing scandal of philosophy, that you cannot even prove that a world exists. So once you have proven that an external world exists, if you can prove it, then you have the second big problem of philosophy. How to show that this external physical body and brain are producing this first-person subjective experience in consciousness. How? Both are huge problems in philosophy. So no, bodies may come and go. Mind keeps on changing. But consciousness, son of consciousness, he says, it keeps on shining. It neither rises nor sets. And you are that. And he also puts in a little word, samvid eka. He says, one. Little thing, idea might be there in our minds. So many are here. How many lights are there? Are there many lights shining? No. Consciousness is one. I will not argue it out now, no time. So consciousness is one. Bodies could be many. Bodies are many. Minds are many. Bodies begin and end. Minds are keep continuously changing. But consciousness neither comes, neither is many, nor does it begin, nor does it end, nor does it change. It illumines change. Are you stipulating that, Swami, consciousness cannot change? Let's think about it logically. If there is change, either you know about the change or you do not know about it. If you know about something, it must be an object. To know about anything, it must be revealed to consciousness, or consciousness must reveal it. So it must be, change must be in the object. Now suppose there is change in the consciousness and we do not know about it, not only do not know about it, if consciousness changes and we cannot know about it at all in principle, then why talk about it at all? So the possibility of change is an objective phenomenon, and it must be in the objective realm. Consciousness is beyond change. And as we all agreed, it is beyond want. By itself, I, the light, do not want anything. Mind will come in with a whole list, Christmas shopping list. I want many things. Well, what is that street? Orchard Street? Yes. So we drove through that. All lights everywhere. But what is the message? Buy me, buy me, buy me. Come here, buy me. And who responds? Mind. The light is fine. The light just reveals everything. Fear. It is the fear is in the mind. Fear starts with division. Upanishad says, Dvitiyad vai bhayam bhavati. When there is the existence of an entity other than me, then fear starts. You say, no, but there can be desire also. Desire and repulsion come after fear. Fear is primal. So, the light has no fear. Nor of death, because it cannot die. Body dies. Mind changes. I, the light, do not die. It is ever there, never not there, and ever silent, ever shining. So this is the nature of that light, and this is what we are. This is when the Upanishads say, Tattvamasi, you are that. This is what is meant. And Vidyaranya Swami, he says, now open your book and see. He says, you are Brahman, you are that. Brahman is Satchidananda. This is what is meant. This is this light which is enabling us to have all these experiences which we are having. Without it, no experiences are possible. Without all experiences, it is still fine. With all experiences also, it's still fine. Body may not be fine at all. Swami Shivanandaji was the second president of our order, a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. He was the president of the order. At one time, in his old age, he was suffering from asthma. Whole night he could not sleep. In the morning, people heard about it. He's the president of the entire organization, elderly. People came to bow down, monks came to bow down. One of the monks asked, Swamiji, how are you? Maharaj, how are you today? He said, I'm fine. They were puzzled. Fine? But they had all heard last night Maharaj could not sleep. You're fine. But we heard, Maharaj, that last night you could not sleep, you suffered a lot. And he says, oh, you mean the body? Not fine at all, not fine at all. Swami Turiyanandaji. He says, once he was suffering in his old age, and somebody asked him, Maharaj, khub kashto, are you suffering a lot? He said, Thakur, in Bengali I'll translate, Thakur bhetorta borof kore diyeche. By the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, inside it's like a mass of ice. I'm perfectly alright. There. He's not escapist. Physical level problems are there. Financial level, social level problems may be there. You'll deal with it. You'll deal with it. Remember, all those problems, it will come, it will be, it will disappear. If you deal with it properly, it will be a little better. If you don't deal with it properly, it will be a little worse. But in the end, it will all go away. You won't go away. You will still be there. I really like it. Once Sadhu there teaching Vedanta in Hindi, they were teaching. But his words of encouragement were, Aap ho na, you are still here. Lifetimes have come and gone. So many fathers, mothers, husbands, wives, children, grandchildren come and gone and forgotten. Lifetimes after lifetimes. We have had so many of these experiences that are gone, forever forgotten. You are still here. And you will continue to be here. This is this light which Vidyaranya Swami speaks about. We could go on, but we are almost out of time here. I'll just make one comment and then we'll turn it over to questions. So many people may have this thing in their minds that you mentioned light. This is consciousness. But Brahman is Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat is existence, being. And Ananda is bliss. Why didn't you mention being and bliss? This very light is being. What is being? What is Sat? That existence which does not come and go. Every other existence comes and goes. The existence, Trikala Avadha, that means which is not sublated in 3 periods of time, past, present, future. At no point will you ever have this experience, it doesn't exist. So that is called Sat, pure being. This light, you exist. Or rather, you are, this is called existence itself. This light is being itself. Sat is Chit. What about Ananda? So many people accuse me, you don't speak about Ananda. Because there is a reason. People immediately think, when they think Ananda, smile will come on their face. Yes, this is a nice thing. Sat, Chit, all the existence, consciousness seems all very impractical or theoretical. Ananda sounds nice, happy, party time. We'll have fun. But Ananda is exactly like Sat and Chit. See, when I say Sat, pure being, it does not mean particular things. Sat is not a thing like a bottle of water exists, table exists, man exists, woman exists. Not like that Sat exists. But rather, that very exists in everything. Bottle exists, take the exists. Table exists, take the exists. Man, woman exists, take the exists. That existence itself is Sat. Or rather, it's borrowed from Sat. Just like that, Chit, consciousness. Now we can understand this light we are talking about. Which conscious experience is that light? Which conscious experience is some with pure consciousness? He says, no, Swami, it is underlying all conscious experiences. Is it not? That's what we talked about till now. Whatever we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, are you there or not? Of course. You are and what is that you? It is the nature of that light, which makes possible all experiences. Pleasurable, painful, ordinary, aesthetic. All of it is made possible because you are that light. We are that light. So that is consciousness, that is Chit. Similarly, Ananda is this very Sat Chit. Ananda is not, according to Advaita Vedanta, not another special type of happiness. I have a happiness of eating a cookie. I have a happiness of smelling a flower. Happiness of talking to a friend. Happiness of relaxing nicely in sleep. Is it one more happiness like that? Happiness of sitting quietly in meditation. Is it one more happiness like that? No. It is that which is coined into all these kinds of happiness. It is the very, another way of putting it, the very limitlessness of your Sat Chit nature, which is Ananda. And that is experienced in many ways at various joys of life, various pleasures of life. The argument I'll tell you in brief, because it's a particularly brilliant argument that Vidyaranya Swami, he gives a two-step argument to show that you, that light, are bliss itself. What is that argument? I'll just tell you, leave it there. You can think about it later. What is the goal? I have to prove that you, by you now I mean that light itself, that continuously shining light which we are. That is the source of continuous joy and the source of maximum joy. Two things I have to prove. That you yourself are the source of continuous joy and you yourself are the source of maximum joy. That sounds very strange. We never think about it that way. But he proves it brilliantly. What does he do? He says, notice in the world, whenever something gives us joy, we want to get it. And if it continues to give us joy, we want to keep it. If it stops giving us joy, if I don't like it, we want to get rid of it. It could be a gadget, it could be a home, a car, it could be a person. We want to get rid of, no, I don't want anymore. Friend, spouse, and so on and so forth. So, the link is, if it is giving me joy, I will keep it. If it is not giving me joy, I will get rid of it. Same thing can give me joy, I get it, but after some time it can stop giving me joy, then I will feel like getting rid of it. So what's the sign of giving me joy? I want it, I want to keep it. What's the sign of not giving me joy? I want to get rid of it. Now there is only one thing which we continuously want to keep and never want to get rid of: ourselves. We never think of it that way. We are thinking about getting rid of things and people. But what about ourselves? We want to be. Bhuyasam, I want to exist. Let it not be that I will not be, that I will die. It's unacceptable to me. I want to continue existing. I know what's in your mind. Suicide. What about suicide? But suicide is always from external pressure. I have such a terrible debt that, oh, somebody told me, the casino, they have got window in the hotel, and the windows are barred because people lose money, they want to jump up from the window. Now you cannot even jump up. You will lose the money and you cannot die also. Very nicely arranged. So, the window is blocked. You cannot kill yourself. But why do you want to kill yourself? I have lost all my money. Alright, suppose the casino now returns all your money. It will not, but don't think it will. But suppose it does, returns all your money. Good. Now you wanted to kill yourself? No, I'm okay. I don't want to kill myself anymore. Which means it's not that I want to get rid of myself. I want to get rid of the associated problem of debt. That's all. Nobody, when things are alright, nobody wants to kill himself or herself. So we always want to preserve ourselves. We never want to get rid of ourselves. That is this continuous desire to keep myself existing. Now if I want to keep something, it must be giving me continuous happiness, satisfaction. So this is proof number one. The other one, yes, it may be giving me some satisfaction to continue existing, but how do I know it's the maximum satisfaction? The second proof. Something gives me if there is something that gives me happiness, and that gives me happiness for the sake of another thing, that other thing is giving me more happiness. Let me explain. A mother loves the toys of her child. Seeing the toys which her child plays with gives her a burst of happiness. Why? Because the toys are loved for the sake of the child. Because it's her child's, her son's or daughter's toys. Now whom does she love more, the toys or the son or the daughter? You see, you're laughing. Of course the child. There will be a very strange mother who loves the toys more than the child. So, you love the toys because the toys belong to your child, and you love the child much more. So the thing which is loved less than the thing for which it is loved. It is loved for something else. And if that is loved for something else, that will be loved even more. To illustrate this nice example, one young man was there, a nice job, lot of money. I love my job. Somebody asked him, you love your job. Alright, suppose you have to do the job and you will not get the money for it. Because you love the job. So no, I need the money. So you're given a choice, forced. Either you will do the job or you will get the money. No need to do the job, just get the money. I will choose the money. Alright, so you have the money. You love the money. Which do you love more, job or money? Money. Now, money is there, but this money, you cannot spend it. It just be money. You can't do anything with that money. It just be your money, that's it. No, I need to spend it to buy the things I need for my family and other friends. So I need those things. Money represents those things for me. So in that case, what do you love more? The things which money can buy or the money itself? Say you love the things what money can do. That I love, rather than the money itself. Now, the things you will get, alright, you can buy the things you want with money, but they will not be given to your friends and your family. They cannot be given. You can just buy it. No. It must be given to my friends and family. My family, it should be given to my family. Just I will buy some things, that's not enough. It must be used by my wife, husband, children, father, mother. It must be used. When my friends, Christmas is coming, shopping. There's a cartoon. Looking at my bank statement after buying gifts for everybody. One person is sadly looking like this. All money is spent now. So I buy all the gifts and to give to the family. Then the next question is, alright, you can buy the gifts and it can be given to the family, but they will no longer be your family anymore. Some random family. No, it has to be my family. See, ultimately it comes all the way back from the job to money, to the things that money can buy, to the people, to me, I, me, mine. Now in a narrow sense that's true. But also, it's because beyond this body-mind is this one light, which is our true nature. So what is loved most? More than money, job is love. More than job, money is love. More than money, the things it buys is love. More than the things it buys, the people are loved from whom you buy them. And the people are loved because they are related to me. Then what is loved most? But the more you love something, why do you love something more than the other? Because it gives you more happiness. Then what the thing which you love most must be giving you maximum happiness. That the self gives us maximum happiness. Very neat, logical, geometrical proof. 700 years ago, Vidyaranya Swami. And thus, demonstrated by reason and logic, Sat, Chit, Ananda. This is what he says. Now open Upanishad. Upanishad calls this Brahman. You are Brahman. Thank you very much. Thank you. Alright. Please ask a question. I don't know if you'll have time for all of this.
Pranam Maharaj.
Tell us your name and ask a question.
I'm Parul. We have been attending your discourses, and in Mano Buddhi Ahankara Chittani Naham, Ahankar gets a very important pedestal. And then you've been talking about the concept of Manush, which is self-respect, and this is Ahankar. How do I discern? Because sometimes I might be acting out of ego, but hide behind my reaction that, oh, it was my self-respect.
True. Now there are two answers to this. There is one direct Vedantic answer. Clearly the sense of the ego, Ahankara, it's objective. It appears in the light, same light, which through the mind and the senses I see the bottle. Same light sees the ego also. Is it true or not? You, the light, are the witness of your own ego. You are actually not your ego. That light is not the ego. The ego is also experienced by that light or illumined by that light. Just as this is illumined by the same light flowing through mind and senses. So in that sense, clearly, demonstrably, only demonstrably to yourself internally, we are not the ego. So that's very clear. From that sense, Shankaracharya sings Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, and then it becomes very clear. But the Chidananda Rupa Shiva is what? Is that light. By the way, one thing I'll just add here, just like that, I'll throw it out here. That light and the sun and the glacier example which Swami Ramtirtha gave, it can put in our minds an idea that light is separate from this entire display. But it's not that way. The light is separate from the display, but the entire display is within that light. I'll repeat again. You, the consciousness, are separate from this entire universe, but the entire universe is not separate from you. It's an appearance in you. It is one reality. If you try to look for a separate observer and observe this duality, you'll never find it. Because it is one continuous reality. So this keep in mind. This was not the topic today. It was just to distinguish ourselves as the light apart from mind. Now, quite apart from all of this, day-to-day life, you need a healthy sense of self. One gentleman in Princeton, in the United States, told me, "It's good, Swami, that you stress the importance of self-respect, ego, because I see that many Hindu teachers, they go straight to the highest teaching. You are Atma, Purusha, pure consciousness. But even before that, one needs to have a well-formed personality, a confident personality, with a shaky sense of self. This analysis will not lead to much. So yes. So even from a common sense, I would say positive psychology perspective, it's important to be have a healthy sense of self-respect, and that will not be ego. If we are strong, it's not ego. A display of ego is there when we are weak, actually. Yes, thank you. Next person. Yes. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Pranam Swamiji, my name is Reva. I wanted to know what is meant by Ek Jeev Vyas.
Ek
Jeev Sadhana.
Ek Jeev Sadhana. Ek Jiva Vada.
What is Ek Jeev, yeah.
Ek Jiva Vada?
Yes.
The one I have heard about is Ek Jiva Vada.
Yes.
Yes.
Ek Jiva Vada.
Ek Jiva Vada. All right. Big topic, and this is really abstract. But it's not difficult to understand the question. The question is this: if I am awareness, the light, if you think about it that way, then the mind is appearing to me, the awareness to the light. And through the mind I'm aware of senses. Through the senses I'm aware of body and the world. And the only place I'm aware of awareness is in myself. Say, Swami, aren't you aware that all these people are aware? No. Nobody is aware of awareness outside oneself. All you can experience are the body of the person, behavior of the person, language of the person. If you are telepathic, if you can actually see, as some yogis are, you can see into the minds of others, you'll be aware of the thoughts of the other person, memories of the other person. But you'll never be aware of awareness, because awareness is not an object. In that case, the next step is a little frightening. In that case, maybe I am completely alone. I am the awareness. Do they all exist at all the way I exist? Now, I'll just make an observation here and stop. Those who are philosophically trained, I know there's some highly philosophically trained people. They will go. So training has its disadvantage. Common sense approach is easy to have, no problem. Immediately, but trained philosophically, they will immediately jump to the next problem. They will call it solipsism. Solipsism means only I exist. And that's actually a huge fault in philosophy. Why is Advaita Vedanta not solipsism? Because solipsism means only one subject, one ego exists. Advaita Vedanta says we have seen that we are not that empirical subject, we are not that ego. We are the witness of that ego. So it's not solipsism in that sense. If you think in that way, you're talking about Eka Jiva Vada. What is Bahu Jiva Vada? We are all sentient beings. We are all going through samsara. And some of us, only the blessed few in this hall, we have become interested in Vedanta and we have got the secret which will help us to liberate us from samsara. We have got hold of something. But we are all there. Many of us are there. But if you think in this way, Eka Jiva Vada, there is only one. Who is that one? You. There are many varieties of Eka Jiva Vada. One of the varieties of Eka Jiva Vada is you are this Jiva and you are imagining this world. That's one way of doing Advaita Vedanta. It's one of the schools. That's not the mainstream, I would say. Though some of the post-Shankara Advaitins call it Mukhya Siddhanta, the primary Siddhanta or the form of Advaita. But it's a little difficult to wrap your mind around. And it's, in some sense it is a faster and more powerful approach. In some sense it's more difficult. It's easier for, say, a monk in the icy vastness of the Himalayas, completely cut off from the world, to practice in the way of Eka Jiva Vada. Little difficult for somebody engaged with us. One young man, beginner, he told me that I like this idea, Eka Jiva Vada. It is usually associated with another thing in Advaita called Drishti Shrishti Vada. Eka Jiva Vada and Drishti Shrishti Vada. But he says, after some time, you know what happened? I became sort of indifferent to people and indifferent to the world, indifferent to my job, indifferent to my personal health, and it's not working. My suffering started increasing. So that is not recommended. It's better to start common sense. Here I will share difference between Gaudapada, Shankaracharya's guru's guru, and Adi Shankaracharya himself. I've shared this other times. Sadhu in Gangotri told me. He said, Gaudapada ji, bade pakkad mahatma the. He was a very radical monk. Completely disregarded the world. Consciousness alone. World is an appearance. That's it. Finished. What problem is there? No problem. Then I said, if Gaudapada was like that, what was Shankaracharya? In Hindi I asked, so Shankaracharya kya the? And the answer was, wo to Jagat Guru the, na? Shankaracharya was a teacher to the world. So he has to teach Advaita, which we can plug into easily. If you straight away say there is only light shining, finished. What did he say? Although that is the teaching basically. Thank you.
प्रणाम स्वामी जी, मेरा प्रश्न बिल्कुल सिंपल है. आई एम राजेंद्र शाह. मेडिटेशंस भक्ति मार्ग में और न्याय मार्ग में कोई डिफरेंस है क्या?
So the question by Rajendra ji is that, is there a difference in bhakti meditation and jnana meditations? Yes, there are differences in technique. All meditations are training of the attention, what we pay attention to. So centering our attention on the object of love, of bhakti, devotion, that would be meditation in the bhakti marga. So I love Krishna, for example. So a full description, dhyana shloka would be given of Krishna. I can imagine that form, blissful form. I visualize a lotus, luminous lotus in my heart, and I visualize that form, and I feel the presence of the Lord. Radiant, loving. So it is that. Now in jnana, the meditation specifically is called nididhyasana, and there are some distinctions from all other forms of meditation. Suppose I tell you, pay attention to yourself as Rajendra. Are you imagining anything or just paying attention? You're not imagining anything. When I say I am visualizing Krishna, I am visualizing Krishna. In my heart, I am visualizing this particular thing. If I stop visualizing, what will happen to that visualization? It will disappear. But nididhyasana is drawing our attention to an existing reality and then keeping our attention on that existing reality. Further complicated by the fact that that existing reality is not an object. It is that to which all objects appear. So, in one sense, it is easier because you don't have to visualize anything. It's there. Once you understand what has been pointed out. What we did today, not the body, the light to which the body, world, body, mind are appearing, that light, is it there or not? Yes, you are there, you are that light. You cannot deny the existence of that light because you are that light. To deny the existence of that light, you would have to be that light. So it is an existing thing. But now if you try to meditate upon it, immediately you will see it's not at all easy. You will say, I'm getting a headache. So, these bhakti and jnana margas are not different. Sri Ramakrishna said, Jejar ishto shetar atma. Whoever is your ishta devata is that same atma. This light within is the same as the ishta devata you visualize and meditate in your heart. The advantage of the ishta devata, the form of God we are meditating upon, first of all, it has an objective nature, so that I can focus my mind on it. I can visualize it. And it is associated with our emotions. When you conceive of that light, it's beyond all emotion. But this is associated with our emotions. I love, and God loves me. I feel a closeness with God. So there are many, many advantages with the the bhakti approach or dualistic approach to meditation. But the deep insight is the dualistic approach and this Advaitic insight which we got, that I am the light within, they are not separate. They are one and the same thing. I had asked this question, Swami Nirmuktanandaji was there, Upen Maharaj. It was nearly 100 years when I asked him the question. He was a disciple of Swami Shivananda, whom I mentioned just now, in Belur. I asked him the question, what is the relationship with this light inside the Atman which we study in Vedanta? And our Guru has given us Ishta Devata and mantra to repeat, Ishta Devata to meditate upon. He said, have you not heard what Sri Ramakrishna said? That he who is your Ishta is verily your Atman, is that light. Just a divine name and form is imposed upon it. That it's a spiritual technology which helps us to meditate. Yes.
Hariyam Swamiji. Swamiji, my name is Hanuman, and I would like to reflect back on one of your Q&A sessions long time back, where you gave the analogy of the radio waves as consciousness and the radio instrument. So without the radio instrument, it's of no use. And then you quoted from the Mandukya saying that consciousness by itself, it's truly useless in the highest sense. So that analogy is very easy to understand, the radio and the radio waves. So in this case, in this lecture today, I felt that was a very good analogy to understand. So here the radio waves is trying to investigate and go and understand the radio wave. The radio is trying to understand the radio waves, and it goes on to live as a radio so long as the prarabdha is there. And once the
slowly, I'll interrupt you here, and I will modify it slowly. Is the radio waves using the radio trying to understand its radio wave nature? Not that. See, when we do all these things, is analysis, a kind of misconception unknown to us creeps into our minds. That, oh, my real nature is pure consciousness, some kind of light Swamiji is talking about. But now I am this fellow, this body. Now, this fellow, this body will now search for that light. No. You are that light right now. You are already, whether you do one more thing about Vedanta or not, one more class or one more book about Vedanta, whether you do or not, you are that light using the mind and the body and the senses for every experience of life. And if you want to understand yourself as that light nature, as consciousness nature, again you are using the body and the mind, coming to a Vedanta class, reading books, trying to think. All of that is using the body mind, but you are never the body mind. You are never the body mind.
So the understanding is that the radio remains till the prarabdha is there. And
yes. Don't worry about the radio. And not only that, this radio waves thing, you say it's perfectly useless, consciousness is useless. I say it useless because I'm humorously translating the Mandukya term, avyavaharyam, not entering into transactions. But remember, when we say something is useless, it's a useless fellow. That means something else is useful and that fellow is useless.
You said useless in the truly highest sense.
I know, you understand it correctly, but let me just clarify. When we say consciousness by itself is useless, what I mean is, all those things which we find useful, is seeing useful? Of course. Is thinking useful? Of course. Is driving useful? Of course. Computers? Of course. Flying? Of course, very useful. All of those activities, sensations, thoughts, they all depend on that so-called useless consciousness. Without that, use is possible? No. Nothing. The whole universe disappears into a darkness for you. Jagad Andhya Prasanga, it is said. Alright. Can you bring the microphone here? Yes. We'll finish it here.
Narayan Swamiji, my name is Jack. I just came across one of my questions just while the discussion was going on. The first one I'd like to ask is, when you narrated the story of Ramakrishna Paramahans, and you said that when he was under his guru, Puttapuri, he was meditating, he would always think of the Holy Mother, Goddess Kali.
Goddess Kali.
Yeah, and then he would, and he was never able to sort of understand the one consciousness and meditate on it. So Totamuriji told him to actually take a sword and actually imagine cutting through the image of Goddess Kali, and then he was able to realize. So when we're talking about bhakti and jnana meditation in terms of that, so in this case, the meditation on Ishtadevata was actually a barrier to...
See, barrier means it is Savikalpa Samadhi. Sri Ramakrishna was getting stuck in Savikalpa Samadhi, but that's such a high stage of high spiritual state. From there to Nirvikalpa Samadhi is a small matter for such a person. Without that, you say that Ishtadevata, vision of the Ishtadevata or being absorbed in Samadhi in the form of the Ishtadevata is a barrier. It's not really a barrier. Unless we go to that, nobody can directly jump to the Nirvikalpaka state so easily. So yeah, it's part of the same process.
My second question is following that one. So I was going through God Talks to Arjuna, and I was confused between the concepts of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Kevalya, and enlightenment as a concept.
Oh, that's a big question. And different paradigms. There's a yogic paradigm, there is an Advaitic paradigm, and the different takes on both. We'll just leave it at that. Could you ask the question, next person, could you ask the question? Then we'll send the mic here. Do you have a question?
Pranam Swamiji, I'm Nivedita, and this is the first discourse that I'm attending today.
Oh.
Yes.
You started off on the deep end. In a swimming pool, there's a shallow end and deep end. So you started off on the deep end. Yes.
It's really beautiful. As you said that I'm light, and for many thousands of years I've been coming here, and the ultimate aim is to liberate. But light is already liberated, so it's something that I know but I have not experienced. So is this light going to live as long as till we experience? That's the purpose?
This light means you.
Yes.
Yes. And one very important point you mentioned was it is already liberated. Really does not require any liberation.
Yeah.
And that will become evident. That itself is enlightenment. It's not that after I get it, I get the realization I am that light, I am Brahman, then I become liberated. Then I get this understanding I was bound till now I am liberated. No, it will rather be, oh, as this light in my real nature, I always was liberated. Wonderful. Yeah. Take the microphone here. Alright, I'm going to do a rapid fire. Let's see.
Namaste.
But you must ask your questions precisely.
Sure. Namaste Swamiji, my name is Karthik. My question is, when we see that, when we negate everything off and what we left is only the pure subject, which is our awareness itself. When someone comes to know that they are that pure awareness, which means the awareness itself will become a subject to the awareness, which means the subject and the object becomes one, and it is something like a singularity.
Yeah, I mean, people have talked about the singularity concept and said that it can be pretty close to what you speak about as enlightenment, a moment of enlightenment in Advaita Vedanta. It's a good example, the singularity which you have in cosmology, for example. But I think you have it in engineering and mathematics also. Singularities, right?
Yes.
I didn't know about it. Somebody told me in the Institute of Science in Bangalore this time. For example, in aerodynamics, there's a point of where everything becomes infinite, like a point of infinite stress, for example. There's material breaks. He was explaining it to me. Something like that. Yeah, it's a good example. For those who are trained in science, it will be a good example. Thank you.
Jai Shri Krishna Swamiji, Jai Shri Krishna to all. Swamiji, I came across my relative who had high degree of Alzheimer, and she was unable to distinguish between her own food and her own shit. So it is just like a newborn child. How we can describe this as her consciousness?
Yes. Consciousness is still the same. For example, what about our capacities in deep sleep? All the capacities we have now, they disappear in deep sleep. Consciousness is still the same, that's what we talked about. Suppose in the waking state, the instrument is damaged. We will ourselves, we'll see for ourselves that if the body is paralyzed, I can't move, I am aware, I am perfectly alright. Exactly like that, if the mental faculties are lost, then I cannot remember, I cannot think clearly, I cannot reason, the instruments start failing, I am perfectly alright. This much I will leave it. Advaita Vedanta will say you as consciousness still remain the same. And as far as that trouble which is going on at the physical level, doctors called it self-limiting. So it has started, it will go on for some time, and then it will mutate into something else. You as awareness remain the same. It may sound harsh, but Advaita Vedanta holds on to that. Logically, you are still the same awareness. Alright.
Thank you, sir.
Ram Swamiji, my name is Arjun. I have a long question, sorry. Many acharyas have walked this earth. Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya. Everyone talks about getting rid of avidya, which is the final seed of ignorance. But all of them have different views of Maya or not having Maya. So not all of them are liberated in that case through logic, right? One of them is, and the rest of them, including Nagarjuna as well. So what is your take on that?
Okay, I'll stop you right. That's the beauty of Sri Ramakrishna. That they are all liberated. They're all talking about that ultimate reality. Now, because that ultimate reality is beyond conception and beyond language, when you try to put it in language and a theoretical framework, you may come up with very different theoretical frameworks. One might be a personal devotion to a personal God. Another might be an inquiry into our witness consciousness.
Last question, sorry. Is Satyam, Jnanam, Anandam and Satchidananda the same thing?
Same. From an Advaitic perspective. So remember, all this discussion was from an Advaitic perspective. Yes.
Pranam Swamiji. So I asked this question on one of the days during BJP Hall, but I think we had a lack of time. The question was simple. How does the world look like in the highest state of consciousness from the point of view of the perceiver? And a follow-up to that is that how does one make sense of an experience or a glimpse into the experience of a higher state of consciousness without going into too much details?
Okay, I can answer in one sentence, and from Vidyaranya Swami's own language. He says, from the perspective of the Shruti, from the perspective of the person who is enlightened, who has got the same vision as the Upanishads talk about, says Tuchya. There is no such thing as a word. Brahman alone exists. There is no such thing as a word. Exactly seeing this word, the enlightened person with all conviction and honesty will claim there is no such thing as a word. Brahman alone exists. That is from the enlightened person's perspective. Then he says Yoktika. From the analytical perspective, when you reason it out, world is anirvachaniya. You cannot classify it as real, but you cannot dismiss it as entirely non-existent also. So, asadbhyam anirvachaniya. You cannot say it is ultimately real, you cannot say it's totally false also. Who says this? The philosopher, the one who's reasoning from yukti, reasoning. And then Vidyaranya says, I think with a smile on his face, Laukika. From the common man's perspective, he says, Vastavi, it's very, very real. The world is very real. So three perspectives, as you said, question, three perspectives. Ultimate perspective of the Jivan Mukta, there's no world, Brahman alone exists. From the perspective of the philosopher, the analytic mind, anirvachaniya. Neither absolutely real, nor can be dismissed as non-existent. And from the common man's perspective, very much real, Vastavi. Thank you.
Can I ask one more small question?
We have no time at all.
Namaskar, Swami. One of the biggest appeal I learned from you, from various YouTube videos, is that Advaita gives this appeal because it is something you experience. It is here and now. It's not something you must wait for after you die. So what I experience, and we started this discourse today with consciousness plus object equals experience.
Yes.
And I experience me as separate from you.
Yes.
So I feel very, very confused when you elevate me to the consciousness level. And I feel that the definition of me ends with the object having got consciousness, becoming an experience. So in your equation, I am saying meaningless experience and not the consciousness.
I get what you're saying. Just reverse this. Instead of thinking of oneself as an object, a body with consciousness, start thinking of the whole problem as consciousness with a body. You will see things will fall in place, begin to fall in place. The same question you rephrase by thinking of yourself as an awareness with a body. Right.
Thank you.
Pranam Swamiji, my name is Ramakrishna. Just to take that question a bit further and your example of VR games or the dream experience, just at one question I'm stuck where even if you take example of virtual reality, the person who is controlling the whole thing is still able to control the outcomes somewhat in that game. But in our life, if we feel that I'm consciousness, am I able to control the outcomes?
Yes. And I'll give you just one straight answer to that. Have you, in virtual reality games, there's something called NPC, non-playing characters.
Yeah.
Suppose you're an NPC and God is the programmer. So you will see everything, but you have no control over the outcomes. That can happen. But you are liberated from it because you are not really part of it. You just experience it as going through.
Sure, I'm not bothered.
Yeah. That's one way of looking at it.
Hariom Swamiji, my name is Srinivas. So in Vedanta we talk about self-realization, and when one realizes the self, ourself, we go beyond the cycle of birth and death and so on. So bringing the Advaitic concept, when one achieves self-realization, shouldn't the entire universe in a way subside, dissolve, because there's one reality which has realized itself?
True, but it's like saying that when I realize it's a movie and the screen is the only reality, it's just light and sounds and there's a screen, does it mean that the movie has to stop? Not necessarily. That's how you enjoy a movie actually. At the level of appearance, it is anadi and it will go on. At the level of reality, it stops. You suddenly realize the reality quite apart from the appearance.
So to everyone else as well, in a way.
To everyone else, they will still have that same appearance, but they think that's the reality. You also have the same appearance as long as you have a body-mind instrument. But you know that that is not the reality. You know the background consciousness is the reality. That's what happens, sort of.
Namaste Swamiji, I'm Nivedita.
There were two Niveditas.
Are emotions an impediment on the path, on the Advaita Vedanta path? And
No.
if not, how do I use them?
Emotions are not an impediment in both cases, Bhakti and Advaita. And in fact, everything in life, emotions are the source of strength. Swami Vivekananda says in every conflict between head and the heart, follow your heart. What forces us through life, pushes us through life, is want. Normally it goes into the world as desire. But if we collect it all and send it to God, it becomes bhakti. And if we collect it all and put it into self-inquiry, it becomes mumukshutva, intense desire to be free from this limiting circumstance. But emotion is very much necessary. It's only the unpurified emotion which causes trouble to us. Purified emotion directed to God is very much necessary. Last question.
नमस्कार फ्रेंड्स, मेरा नाम किशोर है। एक सन्यासी का दैनिक जीवन कैसा होता है और सन्यासी के जीवन में भी सुख दुख जो भी तकलीफ है, जैसे मैं अब देख रहा हूँ आपकी आँख लाल है कुछ, तो कैसे आप पर्सनली आप कैसे टैकल करते हैं उन सब चीज़ों को, और कैसे आपका जीवन मतलब डे टू डे लाइफ कैसी होती है?
Day-to-day life to describe takes some time. The question is, what's the day-to-day life of a monk like, and how do you tackle problems, sufferings in a monk's life? I'll give you two ways of tackling the problem. Multiple ways are there. One is prarabdha karma. And remember, these are things which can be transferred from a monk's life into a householder's life. These ideas, these practices. Prarabdha karma. This is coming as a result of cause and effect from the past. And so, it will come. Some causes have given rise to this suffering. After some time it will go away. I will deal with it as required. So a little problem with the eyes, I will put eye drop. That's it. Not worry too much about it. Another way is surrender to the Lord. This is a play, those are devotees who are bhaktas. It is a play between you and your Lord. And your Lord is playing with you in this way. Whether today it is a Swami Bhuteshan used to say, president of our order, 12th. So monks beg for food. Now they have a saying among the monks in the Himalayas. I will translate what he said and I'll stop there. And that is applicable to everything, not just food in the Himalayas. The Hindi phrase is, kabhi ghee ghana to kabhi mutti bhar chana or kabhi wo bhi mana. So sometimes you get very rich food cooked in ghee. Some rich person gives you, serves a monk and gives you very nice food. Sometimes you won't get that. Sometimes he will give you a handful of gram, chola, chana. And sometimes even you will not get that. But you have to be absolutely the same in all respects. Kabhi ghee ghana, to kabhi mutti bhar chana, to kabhi wo bhi mana. Very nice slogan to end on. It can be transferred into our day-to-day lives. And it's a wonderful thing which gives you a lot of peace. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram